I don't make a lot of NBA draft content on this channel, but given the fact that it is March Madness, I thought this Friday's ranking video would be my top 14 prospects in the upcoming draft. I want to emphasize that this is my top 14, and there are certain prospects I am much lower on than the consensus and some that I am much higher on. The more I watch, the more things will change, but as for right now, here are my top 14 prospects in the NBA draft. Michigan State guard Jace Richardson is one of the most interesting players to me for many reasons. As a lefty, he has all the advantages in the world on the court, and he is able to use them all. The thing that separates him for me is how great of a complementary piece he is to any lineup. He can fit alongside anyone in large part due to his advanced skill set and his high IQ. I don't see a superstar by any means when I watch him, but I think he will be a very good NBA player and has one of the highest floors because of everything he can do on an NBA court. Despite being 6'3" and having limitations, he impacts the game while being off the ball as much as anyone. I wanted to put him higher, but again, I don't see superstar potential, and his size can hurt him in the NBA, which is where my worry about him comes from, and ultimately lands me to put him at 14. I see the hype surrounding Illinois guard Casper as Jakuonis, however, I am extremely skeptical of him as an NBA player. Sorry if I didn't pronounce his name right, by the way. I'm horrible at pronouncing names. The young guard is crafty and skilled offensively, but he is not good off the ball, and defensively he is awful if you were to ask me. He isn't strong enough right now at the college level, and at the NBA level where he would have to play as the lead ball handler, defensive pressure could cause him to fold. We can say there isn't defense in the NBA, but the reality is that there are many players who get after it and are way too physical for a guard who isn't athletic nor strong enough to handle the pressure. I can see a world where Casper is a really good NBA player and the hype is justified, but I doubt it is a world that we see, as he can't defend, he can't create separation on offense, he can't play off the ball, and he can't handle physicality. 13th best prospect still, but I am not sold on him at all right now. Nipple does not really excite me, as I am not sold on his shooting nor him completely as a basketball player, if I'm being honest. I see how smart he is as a player, and that is apparent, but outside of that, I don't think he possesses the skill set to thrive in the NBA. My personal evaluation of him is that he, more than anybody else on the Duke team, is getting more exposure and becoming slightly overrated because of how good the team is. He is just a great complement to this dominant team, and that is why his success as a player will be determined by where he is drafted at. With him, I think if he goes to a situation where he can play a strict complementary role with stars around him and a good team foundation already established, he will thrive and make this ranking of him at 12 look bad. But if he goes to a situation where he has to be a core player to build around, I think he will struggle. I don't have confidence in him to create for himself, and defensively, I do see some flaws that the NBA can exploit, ultimately landing him at 12. Slightly above Khan, I have a relatively similar player to the naked eye, UConn forward Liam McNeely. The reason I have McNeely higher at 11 is because I believe he is able to diversify his game more and can create his own shot better. Outside of that, I think everything Khan does, McNeely does slightly better and then some in other regards as a taller player, which honestly, let's just be honest here, just means he will be a better NBA player under the basic understandings of how the NBA is. Obviously, situation matters, but he has a higher floor and ceiling to me. I also think that the three-point shooting of McNeely will translate, as he will be getting much more open looks from outside, as he will no longer be the center of attention, as at UConn, he was the primary focus on a team with less on the supporting cast, causing more difficult looks. In a spot-up role, I can see a really good three-point shooter being drafted in the NBA with McNeely, and that's why he's at 11. Asa Newell is going to be a perfect fit in the front court for any NBA team he is drafted to. I do not see a situation where he does not thrive in the NBA, given his size at 6'10" and his two-way skill set. He is a very versatile 6'10" that is sure to complement any team that needs size or to build a foundation of a team. The players behind him I don't see as foundational pieces for any team, but Newell will be, and that pushes him above them to start. Then I factor in how I believe he can play with any lineup, and can even take a star leap despite his lower ceiling. I think Newell is the 10th best prospect, highest floor of the players around him in my rankings, and there is a low chance he doesn't pan out. The scoring ability of Tre Johnson is undeniable, and it excites me. He has top 5 pick buzz, and that is completely warranted, as he could be a franchise player that turns a team around. But do I worry about him long-term and even short-term? Yes, as he reminds me so much of Cam Thomas, as he will fill up the scoring column, but outside of that, I don't see him doing anything else to impact the game. He will be a big-time shot maker in the NBA, but he needs to correct his flaws that consist of him not being attentive on defense, causing him to ball watch and fall asleep. I think those are correctable and can be hidden. But the biggest reason why he has fallen on my draft board more than any is what I see during games offensively. He has poor shot selection at times, but the visible body language of him when he isn't being force-fed the ball is worrisome for a player. And combining it with his disengagement on offense when the ball isn't in his hands, you get a potential disaster on offense if he isn't in a favorable situation. I do have confidence in his upside, but I am not bought into him as a player enough to have him higher than 9, despite me loving his scoring talent. If you want a point guard in any way and don't have a top 2 pick, you need to get Jeremiah Fears. The 18-year-old is one of the fastest players I've seen in a while, resembling my favorite player, De'Aaron Fox, but he really reminds me of Jordan Poole if Poole had a better IQ and was much faster. Fears has a lot of room to grow as his youth does show in certain situations, and sometimes he has issues finishing around the basket, but most of his flaws are correctable. And as the 18-year-old builds strength and continues to work, I believe any NBA team would be happy to have him. He's an amazing leader already and can provide a huge burst for any team in any role, and he is a winner, which is something that is becoming way too overlooked in my eyes. The 8th best prospect in my eyes, but certainly one of my favorites. With how much centers are being prioritized in the NBA, I believe Duke center Khaman Maluach should be getting more attention as a top prospect. A 7'2" athletic shot blocker that has a serious presence around the rim and has an underrated touch, if you ask me. From how I've seen him shoot free throws and shoot outside of games, he does have a projectable shot that could develop into a shot that would allow him to fit the prototypical 5 in the NBA. I don't even care if he can shoot or not. He is ridiculously skilled for a 7'2" big and will be a major force for whatever team is lucky enough to draft him, as I see him as a starting center for at least 10 seasons with the skill set and the fact that it can still be developed, and he isn't even near his ceiling yet, and the ceiling is insane for someone like him. He has an argument to be higher, and I for one would not argue with that, but 7th feels right to me. At 6, I have one of the more versatile players in college basketball in Colin Murray-Boyles. The South Carolina forward has had a lot of discussion about what position he will be playing, whether it be the 3 or the 4, as he has a physical frame to thrive in the interior, but can also stretch the floor and play the perimeter. I think he would be best suited for the 4, as his shooting does give me a little concern, and in today's NBA, floor spacing is key to getting minutes. I think he can guard at the 3 and definitely should be able to guard at the 4, although he is a little bit shorter, but you look at undersized players in the NBA that are as physical as him, and they can play in the interior and hold their own. I don't think Murray-Boyles is going to be a superstar. However, I do think he can be a reliable 20-point scorer with how versatile and smooth his offensive skill set is, and with his defensive ability, I haven't even mentioned yet. I think he has a long career ahead of him, and that is why I shockingly have him at 6, but I've seen enough promise in his offense, and with the defense he possesses, it is a no-brainer to me that he can be very good in the NBA. I hope he falls in the draft to a San Antonio or a good team so his talents can be maximized. Ace Bailey is gifted with a lot, and I do not deny any of his talents. With that being said, having him at number 5 right now feels right, as he does worry me. Being gifted with a 6'10" frame and naturally being a guard should give him every advantage as a scorer long term. However, he is heavily reliant on jump shots, and with that, he finds himself playing as if he is KD. His jump shot is not that good nor smooth, and if he is reluctant to play around the rim off of his own creation, his ceiling will shrink, and he won't live up to his expectation. I believe he can do it, but from what I have seen, I'm more confident in the 4 players ahead of him translating to the NBA as stars, and I do have worry about him and his quest to stardom. VJ Edgecombe is a better prospect than Ace Bailey. A lot of boards have shifted him over Bailey for many different reasons, and this is mine. VJ Edgecombe's play style is a very high-speed and athletic-based play style that we see in the NBA nightly. Everyone thriving in the league right now embraces physicality and can play downhill, as well as being strong enough on the perimeter to shoot, play make, or both. VJ fits that mold completely, as he has an insane athletic burst that is truly remarkable, and with how much floor spacing is in the NBA game right now, it will allow him to thrive and get downhill, which is his bread and butter. We saw how well he can adapt to the pro game as well when he played for the Bahamas national team and took the basketball world by storm. This is the 4th best prospect and probably should be 3rd for most people, but my 3rd prospect is very different than what you've probably seen. Maryland center Derik Queen is a generational talent, a center that is gifted with an amazing touch, strength, and mobility. When I have seen Queen play, all I see see is a heavy resemblance to Anthony Davis at Kentucky when watching his offensive ability. The talent is quite literally generational, and with his ability to play at the 4 and 5, I see a legit NBA player. We can question work ethic and I guess defense, even though he is better than talked about on that end. Bottom line is, he is too talented as a scorer and rebounder, even a playmaker at his size, to not be a top 3 talent in the draft. And I am fully confident that he is. Say what you want about him, but his skill set for a natural center and a bigger power forward is kind of the skill set that we've seen dominate and thrive in this era of the NBA. Derik Queen is the 3rd best prospect in the NBA draft, in my opinion. Because we already know who number 1 and number 2 are going to be, I won't waste our time here. Dylan Harper's number 2, lefty Cade Cunningham in my eyes, and obviously Cooper Flagg is number 1 without any question. This has been my top 14 players in the NBA draft as of right now. This list will be changed around, but as for right now, I believe these are the 14 best prospects. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to watch my latest episode of In Case You Missed It, the weekly recap on my channel that drops every Monday at 3, click on the video in the upper left corner while my March Madness bracket is on the right. It's terrible right now. Y'all stay safe. Have a good one. Bye.